Skål and hello. Recently, I've been playing a couple survival games, and they've been quite fun, and I see a lot of potential in them. But they're early access, meaning it's not finished, not even close. More and more, it seems as if releasing games into early access has become the norm, especially for survival games. I honestly can't think of a single survival game that wasn't released in early access state. So what does early access mean? And what is the purpose of it? Well, the original reason is to create a more transparent dialogue between the community and the developers, improving the game together. Players can choose to play an unfinished version of the game to essentially playtest it and give feedback, which the developers can use to improve the game before its true release. The extra money from the early access sales also helps sustain development to actually reach release. Customers, of course, pay for this fully knowing the games aren't finished yet. That is what it's meant to be, at least. There are a few phenomenal cases of this as well, where it was used in the right way. Baldur's Gate 3 is an excellent example of this, where they released a beta or early access version of the game for people to try out. This helped Larian Studios gauge people's interest in their game, fund development, which at the time had brought them close to bankruptcy, and gain feedback for improvement or reassurance of developing the game. Baldur's Gate 3 is a success story of doing everything right and being rewarded for it. But cases like this are becoming rarer. There are so many more games that become forgotten and abandoned for every success, leaving people's hope and money in the dust as the games never leave early access. Even though it is very clear for the consumer if a game is early access and what that entails, I think early access releases are way worse and corrosive to the consumer in general than one would think. I believe this for one reason: hope. Despite there being wonderful games like Path of Exile 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and even Hades that did early access right, it also opened the door for companies to sell a concept of a game rather than the game itself. So many early access games release a half-assed, unfinished, and bare-bones game, with the selling point of what it could be once it finishes. But a lot of the time, it never gets to finish. I'm sure most companies want success and not a rug pull, and they try really hard in finishing their game, but maybe run out of funds or have other complications. But early access makes people's imagination run amok. They see the potential and they build up in their head how amazing it's going to be. So many buy early access with the thought that it is going to get finished, and when it is finished it will be everything they wanted. The problem with this is that it's not a certainty that it will be finished, and even if it does get finished, most of the time it is never gonna live up to the player's imagination and expectation. So a lot of the time the money people spend won't be worth it and players will feel hollow. Even if people realize this or feel the same as I do, I and them will still buy early access because when it hits, damn it, it hits. Why am I sounding like a gambling addict right now? Because we as gamers want good games, and we want games to be good. So being a part of the process and giving feedback, helping improve the game and creating the game that we want together with the developers is truly an amazing thing, if done right and if it's not abused. Doing it right means doing it like the success stories. But to explain it in more detail, I believe doing early access right is releasing a game that is, from the developer's point of view, feature complete, but they're open to change or add things based on feedback. So kinda like a game in a state of limbo between alpha and beta. I know what is alpha and what is beta is debated a lot, but to put it simply, what I consider alpha is core complete and beta is feature complete. So alpha is when the core of the game is finished, but there's still content and mechanics that can be added to enhance the core. Beta is when the game has all its mechanics and features features in the game, and it is in a state to be balanced, bug fixed, and polished for release. I'm sure people will disagree with me though, but Path of Exile 2 and Baldur's Gate are great examples again. Although a lot of content for the games when released in early access wasn't available, the core and all the mechanics they meant to have in the game was still there. They also had a great deal of content available despite it not being all of it. But as I said, since it is in a limbo state, certain things still changed and were added based on feedback. In Path of Exile 2's case, things are still being fixed and added, even though maybe it's not always the changes that players want, but you know, they're doing their best, being transparent and trying. And before you say Path of Exile 2 hasn't added all their mechanics, there are classes and ascendancy missing. Yes, but what I mean when I say mechanics is that they have skills in the game. Maybe not all the skills are there, but they have skills to mechanic. They have uniques, they have ascendancies, they have classes, but maybe not all the classes and all the ascendancies are in the game yet, but like the mechanics themselves are there. Also, if there were just one class and one skill and one ascendancy, then I would have been mad about it and it would have been a bad early access. But the reason why I'm looking past that so much haven't been released yet is in fact because so much has also been released on early access. So much content. I mean, me personally, during the first early access patch, I got like 500 hours out of it. The reason I think early access should have this caveat is because if you as a company can't bring your product to the starting line on your own, then how are players supposed to have faith in your ability to reach the finish line even with their help? So why do I believe that early access should be in this state when released? Well, it's for the developers as much as it is for the players. Because I feel like when you're in that state of between alpha and beta, that is where the developer's vision ends and where the player's feedback is most significant and has the most importance and impact. Because now you finished what you wanted to build, the vision that you wanted to kind of bring forth into the game. And we reached a point where players have enough gameplay and enough mechanics to chew through to kind of help you realize what needs to be fixed, needs to be changed, needs to be removed or added. Anyway, I think early access was from the beginning a very positive thing, and to some extent still is. But I also think it has been co-opted into making money on an unfinished product, selling the idea of a game and not the actual game. So make sure to research the company before buying early access. Also make sure you truly believe in the idea of the game and that bringing this vision to life is truly what the developers and company wish for. Lastly, even if it is uncertain, if you just want to support a company or a game and you're well aware that your money might be wasted, as long as you've come to terms with that fact, hey, go for it. It's your money, I have no right to tell you where to spend it. Besides, I also spend it on early access games I think could be super cool and fun without knowing if it actually will be finished. So, is early access a scam? Much like any other product. It depends on who is making the product. But I generally wish we could go towards a norm that is releasing finished games and not either unoptimized, broken and bug-filled games needing a day one patch or a contentless sandbox game that is never reaching release. Thank you for watching and listening to my rant. I appreciate you. If you want more, subscribe for future videos. Want to share your take or opinion, please comment. I'll try to answer when I have time. I think talking about games and things surrounding games is very interesting. I also stream on Twitch when I have time, so you could drop by there as well. Link in description. Anyway, have a great day and hey do! Bye bye!